Thank you all for coming here to listen to me. Sorry, the mic is having a little issues. My name is Stefania Mereu, and I'm currently Director of User Experience and Design at Pearson Education. I built a conversion optimization strategist for all kinds of industries, from automotive to real estate, healthcare, and I'm just starting at Pearson, so next will be education, right? What I want to talk to you today about is how to use quickly quantitative data to segment your users in a way that will allow you a better conversion strategy. So if you want visitors, you have to attract them to your website, landing page, app, and or front store even. And no matter how you get them there, you will likely end up with a variety of different users, right? So the question is, how do you know who to target your effort on? And despite what your bosses says, no, you cannot please everyone. Okay, so you have to pick your battles, you have to choose and you have to target. But how do you know with all the different types of users who to target your efforts on, who to focus, who to design for, and who to build forms for? A common technique that I've seen used by a variety of different folks, teams, and companies is to focus on demographics. And yes, it's a quick and dirty way to do that, right, based on age, gender, location. They come from a cold weather, warm weather. In my experience, it doesn't really work. When you build your strategy on demographics alone, you will often base your strategy on stereotypes, especially because very few actually end up having the time to go and ask the customers, right? Despite how important that is, to ask your customers actually what they think, what they feel, what they're there for. So it kind of doesn't work to base your strategy on demographics. Again, at best, you'll end up with a stereotype. At worst, you'll end up targeting the wrong customer altogether. Or even worse, you'll end up targeting the right customer with the wrong message and kind of send them away after all the effort you've done to bring them to your website, right? So how to avoid that? It's kind of hard. But I want to run a little experiment with you first. Turn to your neighbor and ask them don't ask them, sorry. Try to guess what's their favorite food. Try to guess. Just take a quick look at them and tell them, ask them, is your favorite food X? Try. All right, I did not expect the chaos. All right, done. Chaos, anarchy. All right, I think we're good. All right, how many of you tried to guess with pizza? Raise your hand. Oh, you guys are creative, not very many. How many of you try with burger? Quite a few. How many of you actually got it right? I will say that is kind of impressive. Now, for those of you who didn't get it right, it's kind of hard, right? It's just kind of hard to look at someone, quick look, and immediately just say, well, I know what you like, right? So why do we try to do that with our customers? Now, for those of you who guessed correctly and said kind of like a banal food such as pizza, as good as pizza is, I'm Italian, so I'm all for that, but it wasn't that hard. Like if you try with a common type of food, truthfully, there's nothing special about guessing that correctly, right? And the reason is that a lot of people tend to like pizza or burgers. So there's nothing special about knowing that somebody likes pizza or burgers. So how do you fix that? One of the main blockers that I heard is that we don't have time. We don't have time to ask the customers. So I will have strategies for you if you only have 1 hour, if you only have 2 weeks, and if you really want to splurge and have about a month. So let's start with 1 hour. What can you do in 1 hour to try to segment your users? I will illustrate my examples with an actual online store that exists. It's called Twice. And the way I use this as an old project of mine. I'll tell you a story another time. But what I used to say about this store is that it sells upcycled jewelry, right? The earrings you see here, they're actually made out of a milk jug, right? So for those of you who don't know about upcycling is the process of repurposing waste material and give them new life without necessarily going to reprocessing the material itself, right? Kind of a neat concept, right? That's kind of why I like it. So one day I looked at my analytics. This kind of analytics come out of the box at this point with most online marketplaces, most website builders, even WordPress themes if you're using them. They will all have some amount of analytics that you can look at right now if you log in. And a couple of things to notice here. First of all, do you see the word upcycled anywhere? Nope. Nobody is using the word upcycled to describe my jewelry, right? What they're using is the term recycled. So there you go. I confirmed that there is an interest by people who are interested in the environment, but they're not using the word upcycle. They're using the word recycle. So there you go. You change the word to recycle everywhere in my listings, and I get a pretty significant increase in listing views just by changing one word. Now, another interesting fact here is that vegan folks are interested in my jewelry. I had no idea. Before looking at these analytics, I had no idea that my jewelry could appeal to people who don't like animal products. And that kind of makes a lot of sense because it's plastic, it's all recycled, right? Third insight, people shop by color. I had no idea. Some of you probably think I'm naive, but truthfully, it never occurred to me that people match their jewelry to their outfits, and they're looking for hot pink necklace. They're looking for yellow earrings. I had no idea, right? So by looking at your analytics, less than an hour of work, you now have 3 personas right there: the environmentalist, the vegan, and the fashionista. Now, if you really are into analytics and you want to drill down, you can even start building funnels, and you may find out, again, in a couple of more minutes, that one segment, so let's say people who enter your website through listings that have something to do with environment, might convert more or less. This is fictitious data for full disclosure, but you may find out insights by comparing the different segments, and then one of them converts better than the other. Again, 1 hour of work, all these things that you didn't know before. If you have about a couple of weeks, again, in the spirit of recycling, I encourage you to be frugal. Go and look for data that you have sitting around. You'll be surprised on how many companies I've worked for that had huge amount of data in the warehouse, user-level data, that were just not looking at. It's like all this data sitting alone, lonely in the data warehouse. So either user-level data from the warehouse or other types of surveys. If you ask around your company, chances are somebody sent a random survey at some point to their customers, and you have all this crazy rich user-level data, then you can use to apply analytics and statistics on. Now, 15 minutes, I didn't even try to explain this, but you can use unsupervised machine learning to have the data tell you who your users are. So you don't even have to guess. You don't even have to go and look at analytics. You just organize your data by users and variables, and all of a sudden you have all this rich user-level data. And again, if you want to know more of this technique, you can go on Twitter on use our hashtag #FastRigorousPersonas, or refer to this amazing blog post that just came out by Alex Brickett. Sorry, I hope I didn't butcher your name. I know you're here. But I'll share the slides later on, so you'll have it. But if you want to know more about how to do cluster analysis on quantitative data to build personas, you have plenty of places where to find this information. At this point, you probably have a pretty good idea of what your customers do. Again, like you may find out that environmentalists tend to click on certain listings with certain keywords more than the other two personas. And you know, there's a lot of insights that you can get out of this. Now, if you really have a lot of time in your hands, by which I mean a month, which is not that much, you can go all the way and collect your own data. And if you have the data warehouse, you can actually mix the two types of insights, qualitative data and explicit insights from questions that you actually ask your customers, and we can recycle the questions from the previous talk. Just ask people, and if you have traffic on your website, one of the best things you can do is to install one of these tools. Hotjar, big shout out, a great company, and they're growing fast, but their base product is actually free. With one snippet in your website, you get unlimited survey capabilities that you can control from a dashboard. And again, visitors come in, quick question. You can ask them, what are you here for? You'll be surprised. What are you looking for? What's important to you? One question survey can give you a lot of information. So do that. If you have a data warehouse, install it, collect the data, wait for the data to come in. And at that point, you have all these crazy rich personas that not only do have behavioral data, but they mix it with actual insights on what their motivations are, what worries them, and what their pain points are, and you can address all those with design, features, marketing campaigns, of anything else. Now, these are personas, just an example that I built for Car Story. You end up with very rich quantitative persona that you can use to calculate quite precisely the likelihood that your customers will do, like, need specific things and specific features, functionality, and products. Now, how to use that for your conversion strategy? Well, chances are, if you haven't done any research at all, you end up with vanilla messages such as this one, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? Nobody wants ugly jewelry, right? So there's nothing wrong with saying my jewelry is beautiful, but it's pretty vague, it's pretty generic, right? And when you're running tests, but not just in the context of A/B testing, you really can think about all this every time you try to communicate to your customers, whether that's emails, whether it's marketing campaigns, right? Landing pages, obviously, and try to compare this generic message with well-crafted, specific message for your customers. And not only will you be able to optimize your strategy even better, you will learn a lot about your customers, because you have every test, you can make very specific hypotheses on whether that message will impact the specific segment that you have identified in the past. So not only you can have better messaging, better marketing, but you will also be able to learn more from your test, because you will be able to have more specific hypotheses. Now, from these messages, you probably know I'm not a marketer, so these are just examples of type of messages that are crafted all around the specific user by tapping information that you know about them. And again, some of these customers might have both types of personas inside, but what you want to be careful about is that once they land on your website, they typically have one goal, and it doesn't matter if you will have a fashionista that's also an environmentalist, but if the fashionista is at that point in time looking to match an outfit, there you go. You have different goals and different needs that if you had a more generic message, you will not be able to address. So this is it. You can find these slides at this address, and you can learn more If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out at Fastest Segmentation on Twitter, and I'll try to address them after this talk.